Welcome back to Unlock the Mind with Lester, where we break through the walls between who you've been and who you were created to become. Today's episode is personal. It's real. It's necessary. This is episode 2. Today we were talking about that invisible opponent, um, because behind every touchdown, behind every gold medal, every highlight reel you may watch on ESPN or um, favorite athlete you might like, there's a mind that's either aligned or under attack. So we're talking about the invisible opponent, which is mental health in elite athletics, and how mastering the mind isn't a bonus skill, it's a life or death performance. If you're an athlete, a coach, a creator, entrepreneur, um, student, doctor, anyone, you need to hear this. Because whether you're on the field or building a future or starting off your career, the battle starts beneath the surface. Let's talk about what most people never see. A lot of people only see the wins. They see the money, the cars, the house. Everyone talks about all this great success that they've all came upon. Stocks, Bitcoin, you name it. Success is always shown in such a big picture that people think that it's just, you know, extremely easy, which it is, but we'll get to that. But everyone always just looks at the endorsements, the fame. On social media, you only look at, those videos that they went on vacation or, just the good old, you always show the good, right? You're never going to show the harder issues, which is what don't we see? We don't see the anxiety attacks on the team flights that athletes may have, or maybe even people in the corporate world in private jets. There's anxiety there. There's loneliness in the hotel rooms. Sometimes this is for either athletes or if you work and you have to travel a lot. There's a lot of loneliness in that, and the pressure to perform when your body's screaming no. So this goes a lot more to athletes. Well, it goes to everybody because when your body is talking to you, do you really sit down and listen to it, or do you just always say, "I'm tuning out that noise"? It is good to say, "I'm tuning out that noise" when you're training, when you're actually going. You're doing it with reason, but even when you're doing it with reason, you need to put yourself first. So the identity crisis when the season ends or a career crashes. I've seen this firsthand. When I was working back in Miami, I was working in Brickell. I saw something that was very devastating. There's high rises there, and I believe I was on the 13th floor or 12th floor. But anyhow, there was a building next door to my building, and that was, I don't know, I want to say maybe 40 stories high. So I heard a big bang, and when I look out the window, there's unfortunately a man that, you know, had a lot of pressure in his life, and I guess this is the cause of that because he was just so in tune with his job and everything that was his most important thing. It's very sad to see, but not only does it happen obviously in the corporate world and in schools, but it happens to a lot of athletes as well, believe it or not. And statistically, there's over 35% of elite athletes who are struggling with mental health issues like depression, anxiety, or even burnt out. I've seen it firsthand where parents are pushing their kids, play year-round sports. There is no break. There is no time in between where they can actually build up these social skills. I've heard this plenty of times where you don't build up that social skill as an athlete growing up because you're just so training, which again, that's a great thing, but you need to have balance, right? if you will, yin and yang. Um, that's just not masculine and feminine energy. That's also having balance within your life. So the real number to that 35% is probably even higher. And the reason I say that is because there are so many athletes that probably stay quiet and they don't say a word. And that is a very unfortunate thing. Um, why is it that that happens? Well, I think it's pretty straightforward. Um, we live in a world where if you're athletic, you have to be tough. Toughness is worshipped. Toughness is what they always want out of every single athlete. No one's gonna sit here and say, "Okay, my guy had a very bad injury. Let's see how he's doing and check up on him." No, like usually whenever an athlete has an injury, most coaches don't check up on you. They just keep going because the season must roll on, practice must roll on, and again, it's an unfortunate thing. I don't blame coaches. I don't think it's the coach's fault, but I think there's a lot of underplay, and we need to remember that we're all human. We all have families. We all matter to someone. Even to those coaches, they matter. You know, vulnerability is punished. You don't show up to practice, you get hurt, you may lose your starting spot. So it, it's a very unfortunate thing, but just know that the system teaches you that if you admit that you're struggling, that means you're weak. That is a lie. You're so far from weak. A person that's weak is one that does not actually take in the time and put themselves before the tragedy, because we always want to make a change in our lives whenever something drastic happens, right? We never want to do it before it happens. Like if you can avoid um, getting sick, for example, all you have to do is work on your immune system. Eat foods that are going to be, um, you know, counter to getting sick. And we don't do that enough because we live in this fast life. Everyone wants everything fast, fast, fast. And that's just it's not sustainable. Um, you need to put yourself first always. And I know that as an athlete, it's very difficult because, again, you might lose your position as a starter. You might even get cut from the team in some cases. So it hurts. And it hurts because you put in so much work. You train hard. You do everything you're supposed to do. You learn your playbook. And yet you're over here struggling to keep your starting position that you've worked very hard for. Um, I do think that if you get injured, you should obviously take the time to rest and recover and get back to 100%. But that's not always the case, and sometimes it might take longer. But I don't think that you should be penalized or put down because of that. You should still be able to come back and compete because they already know what they have in you as an athlete. And now if your backup is doing great, you know what? As a coach, you should love that because now you can say, okay, if I'm going to give him enough time to heal, or her, I'm going to give my athlete enough time to heal so that that other person can hold down the fort. And when they come back, I'm going to put him in, share the minutes and see how it goes. I mean, you're probably going to get a better result. You're probably going to have a better run into the playoffs, into a championship game, because you're using your entire team. And that's what a coach is supposed to do, especially in a team sport, right? I mean, in certain sports, it might be more difficult because it's a one-on-one. Like if you're in boxing, that's not going to be an option. But in boxing, you prepare yourself. And then after the fight, these guys take time off. They don't immediately just go into this next fight. I've yet to see a boxer that goes into maybe, finishes a fight and then a month later, 2 months later, they're back in the ring. That just does not happen because they need time to train. They need time to recuperate and just get healthy again. So don't let anyone push you around like that. So why are athletes suffering silently? Here's the problem of why it stays hidden. So first, the culture of silence. Athletes are taught to suppress emotion, push through pain, man up, or grind harder. Really? Second, fear of losing the dream. If you show you're struggling, you fear losing your spot, your scholarship, your contract, your value. Third, the lack of tools. Most athletes are trained in physical strength, but never taught to build mental resilience, emotional intelligence, or spiritual alignment. The system creates warriors on the field, but leaves kids alone in their minds. And that's a very big problem because I know that in certain schools and certain cultures, they may say that, okay, this works here, and you wouldn't understand. Um, I do understand because, see, you can't give someone that's in a bad situation a tough love or um, keep pushing them harder. That's not going to make them better. You don't know what you're doing to their mental state. And I've seen this happen personally myself in the community I live in. I've seen this happen in other places growing up. I encountered this as well. So I've seen this happen throughout my whole life. I was an athlete my whole life, up to college, and I can tell you that, yeah, I mean, you have some coaches that are amazing, that are gonna talk to you, care about you, treat you as a human being, and then you have the other coaches that see you as this workhorse. You see it all the time in the NFL. Why is it that so many guys are retiring in their 20s as running backs? Like, that was never a thing. Me growing up watching, some of my favorite running backs are like Ricky Williams, Jerome Bettis, Mike Alstott. These are like, you know, straight punching running backs. They would hit the hole. They go hard, but they did have coaches that cared for them. I don't think that Mike Tomlin treats his players without respect, because he treats them not only with respect but with care, because you get so much better of an answer and so much more from your athlete if you were to talk to them with care and with empathy than with just pushing them and just cutting them. And once you build that mentality into an athlete's mind, it's very hard, because they feel like they need to cater to you. They need to make sure that they never miss practice, never miss a game. And again, yes, I am all for that, because I mean, again, I grew up an athlete. I know the importance of watching film, of putting in that work. But one thing I wish I would have learned when I was young was that the mental aspect of the game, because that's that next level. All the guys that just got drafted to the NFL, um, the NBA playoffs right now, these guys have to have a strong mindset, because the ones with the weaker mindset are the ones that are going to crash out or um, make horrendous plays, maybe even lose the game for their teams. We saw, unfortunately, J.R. Smith. This happened to him in the playoffs, where LeBron got upset with him because he made a few bad mistakes at the end of the game. Maybe that was mindset. Maybe his mind wasn't right. He's not a bad player. I've always thought J.R. Smith was a great player. Um, I wouldn't put him in my top list of NBA players, but he was a decent player. And you see it happen a lot. I'm not trying to single him out, but it happens to so many players in the league that sometimes, as an audience, you're watching the game and you see them make these mistakes, and you're like, really? Like that's a rookie mistake. Why would you do that? Not even rookie. Like, you don't do that on the courts. So it's a little bit weird on how some players just, they're not in the right state of mind. Maybe, again, something is happening a lot deeper than what everyone knows, and other players don't know about it. Coaches don't know about it. And we're talking about grown men here and grown women, because it can happen to a tennis player. It could happen to a gymnast. It could happen to a swimmer, anyone, any sport. This is really not so much to do with a specific sport or gender. This has to deal only with the mentality of, I need to perform, 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 but yet you're not taking the time for yourself ever. And that's why I think it's incorrect. Excuse me for a second. So How the minds shape performance. Your mind is not separate from your performance. It is your performance. If the subconscious mind where your habits, your fears, where your identities live, it's cluttered, anxious, or broken, it doesn't matter how perfect your physical preparation is. The mind will sabotage the body. That's why elite athletes use a lot of visualization. I don't know if you've known this, but you can search it up yourselves. Phil Jackson actually had Michael Jordan use hypnosis or at least meditation skills. And he not just did it with him, he did with Kobe Bryant. He did it with Shaq to help him with free throws, which we all saw how that was a very big aspect of his game. I would love for Shaq to come out and speak more on this and just let people know that the mental part of the game is so much more important than the physical. Of course, the physical matters. You need to be able to, especially playing against Shaq, be down there in the paint, box him out, go hard for rebounds. But there's a reason why players like Dennis Rodman were so dominant. And I really think that he understood his role in the game, which was I'm not here to score. I'm not here to lead the team in this certain type of way, but I am going to get under the skin of their best player, and I'm going to make him have a bad game. And he did exactly that. Watching Dennis Rodman was incredible because you're watching someone that was playing a mind game out there. Michael Jordan, why was it every single time he knew he was going to the finals, he was going to win? No matter what, and even to today, he's a very competitive man. And he understands that he's already won. He doesn't actually visualize it because he's already visualized it. He tells himself, okay, if I'm playing golf, I won this tournament already. And he walks in there just saying, I'm just showing up. I'm just here to show up and do what I got to do. So why they rehearse mentally before they even move physically? That's because it all starts in the mental aspect of anything. If I'm playing tennis and I sit down, I visualize and I just close my eyes, I'm deep in my self hypnosis. I give myself that suggestibility that I will move quick on the court, side to side. I'll make sure all my serves are going to be 80, 90 mile an hour serves. I will be extremely healthy. I will come out of this as a champion. And then you get even more deeper with it because you start telling yourself, I'm wearing my white shoes, stepping on this green grass at Wimbledon, and having one tennis ball in my right pocket, uh, throwing the other ball in the air, serving it hard, getting an ace, and just coasting my way through this championship. That is having that visualization that okay, your subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality and fantasy. So once you create this story in that subconscious mind, it's like, oh, okay, so I'm just showing up, right? Like there is no doubt in your mind that you are going to lose that match, that you are going to get knocked out in the playoffs. And if you do, that is where NLP comes into play because in NLP, we always talk about how there is no such thing as failure, just feedback. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. So why mental conditioning has become as critical as the reps, the sprints, and the lifts? That's because we are starting to uncover that again the vision, the mental aspect of the game is just it's taking a whole nother it's going to another level because do you ever think that Steph Curry thinks to himself, I'm gonna miss this shot? I actually I coach. I was coaching a team, and I heard a lot of that noise. Like, oh man, negative talk. Um, People not believing, people not really seeing that vision, and it's not just seeing the vision. It's just really being in that moment, believing it, knowing that it's already happened. That's exactly how you get to that next level. It's not just saying to yourself, "Oh yes, I'm gonna win," and um, I'm gonna go and dominate, run fast, and be the champion. Like, no, you need to really create that vision. I'm walking into that arena, my backpack on, listening to my music, really feeling it, getting into this rhythm. As I'm walking there, I sit down, I lace up my shoes. That is creating that vision. That is creating um, that imagery journey, if you will, in that subconscious mind, so that now when you are going, you're like, yeah, this feels right. Instead of just walking in there and just telling yourself, yeah, I'm walking in here and I'm gonna do great. Like, that's the difference between the visualization that your subconscious works with. Again, it's like I explained in that first video. It's getting past that critical mind and really hitting that subconscious mind to then create that program. So, and the reason is because the subconscious mind accepts that vision, and the body just follows the blueprint. When I'm training people, I always tell them that they're here to be present in that moment, and to remember that they came to that workout to dominate and just get through it, because you're going to complete the workout. You're going to be successful. You're going to get stronger. You're going to reach your goals. You just had to show up. So what I'm doing right there is I'm giving them those little NLP cues that it reminds them, like, yeah, you know what? I knew I was going to come have a great workout. And if you didn't think you were going to have a workout, now you're going to have a great workout. Because, again, it's all about that neuro-linguistic programming that we talk about, that NLP. So what's my approach to alignment? So this is why my approach to coaching, whether it's athletes, entrepreneurs, couples, anyone, it's a full spectrum. It's subconscious reprogramming through hypnosis, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, emotional clearing. It's energetic alignment through breath work, qigong, spiritual calibration, which, by the way, I love qigong. Qigong is just moving energy through your body, doing moves similar to Tai Chi, martial arts. I'll start posting a couple videos on there just to show you guys what qigong is all about. But I think that this is a great tool that anyone can do. It's they're movements that are not going to be very difficult, and it's so cool because it really energizes your body and wakes it up. It's a great thing to do very early in the morning. I will be showing here in the future a little morning flow on things that I do, just to show you guys. So it's also a physical optimization because the body and the mind are one. One of my great mentors has one of my favorite quotes from her was, um, "The mind flows where energy goes." I believe it is, or is it the other way? Either way, that it makes complete sense because if your energy is feeling good, then your mind is feeling good. So always try to keep that good energy in you. So you can't fix mental chaos with just motivational quotes. You need to actually take action into it. And you do that by rewriting the code that's already ingrained in your mind. Remember, from ages 0 to 8 is when you are soaking in all that information and you are getting in what's called the knowns, or the um, think of it as the software that you're programming into your mind, right? So you're installing these softwares like dogs are scary, chocolate cake is delicious, um, hugging. I see that when when dad comes home, mom gives him a big hug and a kiss. So now, as you get older, you know that that's something that you actually will do for your significant other because you saw that growing up. So again, these are all things that you're being programmed with. These are all the softwares. But again, it could be it could be reinstalled. It could be reprogrammed. That is exactly what hypnosis does. So when I work with high performers, we release that old survival identity that you know every athlete has his own story on why they work so hard, right? It's all because survival, majority of the time, trying to help their families, trying to help themselves. They have that grind in them, But what happens when they get to that level that they're like, okay, I I've made the money I wanted to make, and even more that I could have ever imagined. I've won multiple championships or titles. I've broken records. You know, you've done so many things. I think a lot of Deion Sanders in this. So he had to. He that didn't fulfill him. That was not fulfilling to him because he needed. For him, it was more of a spiritual thing. So he found peace in God. He found um, the love that only mattered was what's of his children. So that's something that I work with to remove those identities that this is what I need to survive with. No, like you upgrade and you change. So we also build new subconscious beliefs anchored in truth. So we make changes that are going to be to what your belief is now. How because again, remember that since you're from ages 0 to 8, you have that um that that primary caretaker that you really take after. That's not really your identity. That is just what you saw growing up. That is what you were kind of pushed into it because if your parents were let's just suppose it was you grew up in a house where everything was Star Wars and Star Wars was the best thing in the world. Um, you cannot say anything wrong about Star Wars, and you're gonna grow up with saying, "Yeah, yeah, Star Wars, Star Wars." But is it really something that you enjoyed, or was it something that because it was all over the place, you enjoyed it? You were trying to be closer to your parent, closer to your siblings, to everyone in your family. Because if everyone loves Star Wars, then that's great. And now, if you grow up and you're like, you know what, I don't like it as much, but I don't want to tell my family, but I'm still gonna wear the gear and do everything. And this, you're trying to please other people when you should just have your own belief and have it anchored with your truth, as I said. And I also align energy and action to success that it doesn't cost you your soul. You know, it's the energy that I bring, it is energy that you can feed off of because it's positive, it's good, it's great reinforcement. Um, because real success, it's peace, it's presence, it's power with purpose. All right, and getting into my closing thoughts here, um, your greatest opponent is not the opponent across from you; is the one that's inside of you that still believes that you're not enough. Isn't that incredible that you are your biggest opponent? So now imagine being in a hypnotic session where you're playing basketball against yourself. And then that other, your other self is telling you you're not good enough. You're not good enough. That's not your opponent telling you that. That's yourself telling you that. So there's a way to change that and to really focus on how great you are. So coming from me, coming from my heart, I see you. I honor your fight. I'm telling you today, you're not broken. You're not weak. You're just carrying programming that you didn't choose. Because remember, this was not your decision. Growing up, you had to learn things in a certain way, and that is all. That is just how we grow up. But as you get older, become the human brain, I believe it doesn't mature until the age of 25. So even at 21, when you're drinking and you're, you know, getting drunk and drinking alcohol, it's you're really still damaging your brain because it's still maturing, it's still growing. Um, I don't I don't drink me personally, but and I don't think anything wrong with people that do. I used to drink growing up, but I've learned it to keep a clear mind, right? All right. Remember, always you have the power to change it. All right. So now, if this episode spoke to you, share it. Tag someone who's grinding in silence right now. That maybe does has that that I don't want to say shame, but just wants to stay quiet because they're scared to what other people are gonna say, what they think, or they may be seen as weak. That none of that is true. You should get the help that you need because we all need it. Everyone, not just athletes, not just coaches, trainers, entrepreneurs, top level executives. Like we all need it. We all need that mental clearance because you just gotta talk to somebody. Again, I've seen personally great athletes that you think they have it all. You know, very popular. Um, I really don't want to sing things out, but the young gentleman from LSU that unfortunately he's no longer with us. That's very unfortunate. I know his dad talked about it. I don't want to touch much on it just because out of respect for the family, but um, yeah, I mean you see it. It happens in many different ways. It doesn't matter what your career is. It doesn't matter what you where you stand, whether you are rich, whether you have very little money, or you come from nothing. Mental health is extremely important. And again, you have that subconscious mind that talking to you in your ear. Like for example, you want to go to the gym and work out, and it tells you, you're like, all right, cool. Today I'm gonna go work out. Today's the day, and it's like, nope, no, you're not. And what happens? You most likely don't go to the gym because you are telling your subconscious, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm not gonna go. So anyhow, know this: you weren't just meant to survive your gift. You were meant to thrive in it. All right. This is episode 2. Please, again, like, share, subscribe, and anyone that needs to hear this, just reach out to them. Tell them to just listen to this podcast. It's a little bit longer than usual, but I do want to start making my videos longer. Um, if you like, in the comments, write what you would like to know about with hypnosis because I'm actually going to start a little series on different things that hypnotherapy can help with because it helps with pain management, changing limited beliefs. Um, I can't even think of things right now, but like hypnosis with allergies, with fertility, with there's hypnobirth. There's so many things that hypnotherapy can help with. The list is actually quite extensive. So I'm gonna start doing podcasts on it more. Again, hypnotherapy with anxiety, to combat stress, to combat insomnia, snoring, nail biting, addictions. Um, like I said, I mean, even cancer. Like that. Like I said in my first video, the human mind to me is the most powerful computer or the supercomputer on this planet. Um, I don't condone anything that you put to your head that's like I don't want to say AI, but like something that's gonna control your mind. Like everything I see, like oh, you're gonna put a chip in your head. I'm like, don't do that. You already have a chip on your head, and it's the best one. Trust me. I mean, you were created perfect. But anyhow, I digress. Thank you for being with me today. This is Unlock the Mind with Lester. We're just getting started. Again, drop in the comment what you would like for me to talk about with hypnotherapy or hypnosis, and I'll be more than happy to create either a small video, a short video, or I'll make a complete podcast on it, depending on how deep that subject will go. But I would love to educate, teach, and be here, be a guide, because of course I would love to be your hypnotherapist and help you guys out, but there's so many of us out there that we're just ready to help the world. So awesome. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all next time.